Question 1. Which British administrative regulation was suspended in the colonized direct reserves of the Mandal leadership resolution 1937? Bengal Regulation of 1793. The Bengal Regulation of 1793 was a landmark administrative framework introduced by the British in India. It marked the codification of laws and administrative regulation in Bengal. This regulation defined the landowners and tenants, focusing on revenue collection and governance. Focus was on establishing heritage control and local administration. In the Kolan region, the indigenous Manki Munda regulators British attempts to impose external governance structure. This register was noted in their desire to preserve traditional tribal governance mechanism. Hence, the suspension of the Bengal Regulation of 1793 due to the registration. The suspension of this regulation was a direct result of the Manki Munda leadership efforts to maintain autonomy. They opposed British administrative interference and the imposition of policies that disrupted their traditional system. The historic event highlights the struggle of tribal communities to maintain their governance structure and resist foreign exploitation. The Bengal Regulation of 1793. This regulation was introduced to streamline revenue collection and establish administrative control in British territories. Primarily focused on the relationship between the Zamindars and tenants, ensuring efficiently extract revenue from agricultural lands, Kolhan region, and tribal residents. Kolhan region and tribal residents. The Kolhan region, located in present-day Jharkhand, was predominantly inhabited by tribal communities like Mundas and Hos. The Mankimunda leadership was a traditional tribal governance system that resisted external influence from colonial forces. The suspension of the Bengal Revolution in this region underscored the strength of the tribal resistance and their fight for autonomy. The relevant regulation extra part of this regulation deals with judicial administration, focusing on the establishment of courts and judicial procedure. The Permanent Settlement Act introduced in 1973 it aims to fix land revenue and empower zamindars with heritage rights. However, it leads to exploitation of peasants. The sale law of 1845. This law facilitated the sale of lands for unfair revenue, which often leads to displacement of native population. As tribal resistance in Golan was part of a broader pattern of oppositions against British colonial policies across India. The suspension of the Bengal regulations highlighted the limitation of British administrative policies in tribal-dominated areas. Impact of tribal resistance. The resistance in Kolan region inspired future movements for tribal autonomy, which feature most clearly distinguish the Mankimunda system from Santhal Pargana system. Role of para-level inter-village council. While both the Mankimunda and Hanchipara systems share core tribal governance structure like hereditary leadership and customary law, they are distinguished by the hierarchical structure and the specific nomenclature roles of their inter-village councils. In the Mankimunda system, whole tribes, a cluster of villages, typically 15 species known as Pid, where is headed by Manki. In the Manji Pargana system, Santhal tribe, the inter-village is known as handled by Parganate. However, the concept of para is more intrinsically linked to Mundaru Rao administrative framework. The Mankimunda system is unique for its formal codification and Wilkins and rural sciences in the Koran region, which granted judicial and revenue powers to Mankis that differ in legal ways from the Santhal Pargana regulation. Presence of hereditary leadership. Both systems are fundamentally hereditary. The Munda Ho and Manji Santhal positions are typically passed from father to son. Use of customary law. Both systems rely heavily on unwritten tribal customs and traditions to resolve social and religious disputes. community control over land. This is a shared features of tribal governance in Jharkhand, reinforced by the CNT Act for Mundas and SPT Act for Santals, which both emphasize communal or cooperative rights. Manki Munda versus Mansi Pargana tribal. Manki Munda system Munda or Ho, Santhal Pargana Santhal, village head Munda, Manji, cluster head Manki, Pargana, Para labor inter village council is absent, present. Nature of governance clans and territorial and federal decision making village and one led collective through para customary law present land control community Kutkati community oriented. Treaty of Salve was signed on 17 May 1782 between Warren Hastings and Mahadaji Shinde. The Treaty of Salve was signed on 17 May 1782 between Warren Hastings, the Governor General of Bengal, and the Mahadaji Shinde, permanent Maratha leader. The treaty brought an end to the First Anglo-Maratha War 1775-1782, which had caused significant conflict between the British East India Company and the Maratha Empire. As per the treaty, Raghunath Rao Raghuba, the claimant to the Peshwa throne, was abandoned by British, and Madhav Ratho was recognized as the rightful Peshwa. The British retained the territory of Salsette and Elephant while the Marathas were allowed to keep most of the territory, ensuring a balance of power. The treaty maintained peace between the British and the Marathas for the next 20 years, marking a temporary cessation of hostilities in the region. Lord Clive, known as the founder of British rule in India, Robert Clive played a pivotal role in the British victory in the Battle of Plassey 1757. He laid the foundation for British rule over Bengal. His policies significantly expanded East India Company's influence in India. Tipu Sultan, also known as Tiger of Mysore, was the ruler of Kingdom Mysore and an ardent opponent of British influence in India. He was British in the four Anglo-Mysore Wars, particularly known for his resistance during the Third and Fourth Anglo-Mysore Wars 1799. Tipu Sultan introduced military and administrative reforms and was one of the earliest Indian rulers to use rockets in warfare. Nadir Shah was a Persian ruler who invaded India subterranean, resulting in the sacking of Delhi and the looting, including the famous Kohinoor Diamond and the Peacock Throne. His invasion weakened the Mughal Empire and marked the beginning of its decline, paving the way for the other powers, including the British, to expand their influence in India. The first Anglo-Maratha War was fought between the British and English East India Company and the Maratha Empire over the succession Peshawar throne. The war ended with the Treaty of Salwai, which sealed the temporary peace and ensured that neither party would interfere in each other's territories. Consider the following statement regarding social spectrum on that side. The first thing is like the society linked rigid caste hierarchy. Majority marriage was considered accepted. Social study depended mainly on river land revenue paid. Munda tribe primarily settled in Jharkhand follows a social structure deeply rooted in egalitarianism and customary laws rather than rigid hierarchies seen in mainstream Hindu society. The Munda society is organized into exogamous clans known as kilis, like tradition varnas when there is no rigid caste hierarchy within the tribe, while social system exists between the original settler Kutkatidars and later settler Paraja. It does not function as a caste-based exclusive system. Customary law of the Munda tribe allow for widow marriage, often referred to locally as a sagai. This practice is culturally accepted and shows the social security of the window with the travel fraud comes on lineage and ancestry. Being a descendant of the travel together rather than amount of land developed. The Mundas traditionally followed by contracted systems where land was allocated by the clan, the distribution of the individual land revenue over to the zamindars. This was the foreign statement did not show regarding the relief of Adivasi Party in the 1947. It successfully secured a commitment from the government and social institutions. The Adivasi Mahasabha formed under the leadership of Jaipal Singh and played a significant role in organizing tribal communities in the region of Chota Nagpur and Santhal Pargana. During the Poland, the organization emphasized the crucial voice for Adivasi in British India. The Adivasi Mahasabha supported the British Bar efforts during World War II to gain administrative consistently, offering for reconciliation travel to second is also true. The Adivasi Mahasabha did not collaborate in the to control the demands of the Congress, which can overlook tribal demands. This was Section 3. And tried to claim that Adivasi Mahasabha did not secure for separate Jharkhand state. Demand for separate state was raised, and receiving information from the convention. To report the Adivasi Mahasabha faced setback in 1946 election, particularly in the Party, gained ground this was significant in the movement. About the other song of watch in 1938 and the release of JPSC promoted tribal leaders and worked for tribal strengths sought to address the issue of tribal identity, displacements, and exploitation by the colonial person and tribal. It eventually evolved into the Jharkhand Party after India's independence and continued to advocate for a separate Jharkhand state, which was finally realized into the ruling tribal identity and policy. The Adivasi Mahasabha played a crucial role in uniting the tribal communities of the Sudan population and Santhal Pargana under a communal political period. It focuses on issues like the land elevation, protection of the agriculture, and wishing to landlords and tribal settlers. The demand for a separate state of Jharkhand was a central part of its agenda, reflecting the aspiration of tribal population for self-determination and autonomy. Cabinet mission in Jharkhand. The cabinet mission initially was primarily focused on addressing the question of India's independence and demands for a state like Jharkhand. While Adivasi Mahasabha raised the demand for Jharkhand period, there was also significant anti-communist movement. From Jharkhand, the state of Jharkhand was created in 2000 by India. This was some decades struggle led by tribal organs like the Adivasi Mahasabha and the Jharkhand Party. Jharkhand is rich in natural resources and a significant tribal population, making it unique in its cultural and social composition. World War II contact during World War II, several Indian political movements, including the Adivasi Mahasabha, adopted strategic composition and political and administrative concession from British government. The name of the foreign journalist who reported about Satyagraha Dharna, the Sun and Salt work, was name of the foreign journalist who reported about Satyagraha at the Dharna Salt work as Webb Miller. The Sun Satyagraha was a protest against the British salt tax in colonial India and Mayavani cities. Following the conclusion of the salt march to Dandi, Mahatma Gandhi chose a non-violent raid of the Darsana salt work in Gujarat as an next protest against British rule. Gandhi arrested on case Mayavani cities originated march from Darsana salt work from exposures mile north of Bombay. The incident, recorded by American journalist Webb Miller, prompted an international advocacy against the British. Salt Satyagraha 12 मार्च 1930 से 6 अप्रैल 1930 दांडी मार्च 1929 is popular as landmark in the Australian and perhaps as a part of the civil disobedience movement against the British rule. As Satyagraha led by Gandhi marches to 41 miles from Shiv Ashram and with the two coastal village of Dandi and broke the salt flowing by the British as well. The symbolic nature of the event inspired millions of Indians to join the British and brought worldwide attention to the movement. The Dandi march demonstrated the effect of non-violence produced as a form of protest. What is the primary role of the Bhagadu? Present resistance and urban organization. To act as village elders who assist the man in the certain disputes or consensus. Bhagadu Praja is social movement of traditions and urban organization which is deeply rooted in the socio-cultural practices of the Santhal tribal community. The primary role of the Bhagadu Praja is social assistance. Manji, the village identity disputes with the community it is a village elders who rely on consensus and mutually agree to settle conflicts. This role emphasizes the importance of communal harmony and collective decision making, which are connected to tribal governance system. Work together contributes to maintaining order within the village and ensures that disputes are resolved in a fair and amicable manner, civil in the tribal village of justice, equality, and unity. They do not perform administrative roles like collecting the revenue or connected resources as tantric practices. Their concern is primarily focused on social governance and dispute resolution. Bhakti also supports the Manji in organizing community events and preserving cultural traditions, ensuring the continuation of the heritage. Synthal the governance system Synthal organized based on the merits of tradition and tribal leaderships. The roles like the Manji, Puranik, so Manji, and Bhakti These roles are intertwined with the tribal governance, social and cultural values, emphasizing consistent decision making and communal well-being role of Manji. Manji village person represents the community in national matters. The Manji works closely with the Bhakti leads to ensure effective governance and unity within the community. Puranik the deputy assisting and administrating government tasks. Jog Manji responsible for overseeing moral and ethical conduct within the village. Bhagdu Praja creates and dispute citizens and the traditional governance. The Santal Purana constitution provides modern institutions and reflects the tribal community emphasis on self-government, cultural preservation. It is to address the unique needs of the tribal community, justice, inclusion, and community welfare. Cultural significance, the roles within the system, including the Bhagdu Praja, are closely linked to Santal tradition and values. These roles are not only functional but also symbolic of tribal identity and unity. Which of the following pair is correctly matched? Rolex Satyagraha, first master strike. Rolex Satyagraha, March 1919 was the first master strike when Gandhiji called for a mass process at all India level. The Champaran Satyagraha 1917 was first sodium by Gandhiji. Ahmedabad mill strike of March 1918 is considered the first mass strike when himself understood passed on to test to instant the mill workers. Satara was the first non-cooperation movement Gandhi asked the farmers to not to pay the taxes. The Kakori Confederation action was led by the revolution fighters. Ram Prasad Mini Asfakal Khan. The Guru conspiracy, also known as the Kakori action, was significant event during the struggle of India. Armed robbery carried out by the members of Hindustan People Association on 9th August 1966. Ram Prasad Mini and Asfakal Khan were the primary leaders of the Kakori conspiracy. They, along with the other revolutionaries, would govern. Funds being transported to England against British rule. The purpose of the robbery was to gather funds to purchase arms and ammunition for revolutionary activity in British rule. The event marked a turning point in the revolutionary struggle. Personally involved in Kakori's conspiracy. Ram Prasad Mishra appointed, but he was one of the founding members of the HRA. He played a secret role in planning the Kakori action. As Pugla Khan, a close associate of Bishmil, he was deeply committed to the independence movement and executing the trend. Mr. Rajat, though not directly involved in the Kakori, Rajat was a key member of HRA and supported the revolution because general area and the Karasan both were active parts in the Kakori campaign, but later his favouritism. Key feature of the Kakori conspiracy is that over took place near the village of Kakori near Lieutenant President of the Pradesh. He targeted the train carrying movement consensus. The British government district. It is a revolutionary involved in the for leaders into Bismil Khan and otherwise understood as significant Kakori. The Kakori has highlighted the role of young yes, independence movement and their willingness to secure their lives for the connection. It exposed the dissatisfaction with the British rule and inspired future from some moments such as problems in Hindustan. Association in 1920 legacy cover exhaustion is a matter of Muslim Khan and the responsibility and student the president. The Kakori is a symbol of investment in the part of operations. The decision to launch Quit India movement was taken immediately. The decision to launch Quit India was taken immediately after the failure to channel the following favorite mission. The Quit India movement has essentially marked a decision phase of the Indian national movement, demanding an immediate hand to British rule. The decision to launch The movement was taken immediately after the failure of the Christian movement will focus the past post-war administrators but did not imagine beginning with third person sales and then the transition power everything good to know. So Putin decided to only make a hard woman at her well moment master strikes and solutions that are so token to agree with the